Welcome to Classic Game Room. One of the many things that we battle here at the Intergalactic Space Arcade, in addition to scurvy, is UFOs, like the ones found in this game simply titled UFO on the Magnavox Odyssey 2. This game is surprisingly difficult, mainly because this is the worst firing control system I've ever seen. This is true, and that's what makes UFO UFO. Otherwise, it would just be asteroids. UFO is a tricky game, one that I've had a lot of fun playing, so let me explain this to you. You're flying a broken UFO, one that will only shoot in the direction that you're flying, but it also has to rotate around your spaceship to eventually point the direction that you're flying. So, while this is kind of hard to see on screen, it doesn't just fire instantly in the direction that you're pointing the joystick. Like in games such as Berserk or Frenzy, it will eventually fire in the direction that you're pointing the joystick. You have to wait for the cannon to rotate around your ship in a little clockwise fashion before you can count on it shooting that way. It's infuriating, but that's also what makes it worth playing. It's kind of hard to see here, but there's a little dot in my force field that's indicating what direction I'm going to fire, and if I move away from enemies, it's going to rotate away from the enemies. So mastering this bass-ackwards firing system is the key to UFO. Also, run away from the enemy UFOs, because they can actually aim at things, namely you. Go, we're getting to my high score for the day. Come on. Woo, yeah, there we go. All right. UFO! UFO! EDF! UFO on the Odyssey 2 is a lot of fun because the game is very similar to Asteroids, but they didn't try to just make a clone of Asteroids. Walk into my laser beams. Oh no! Oh no! I almost broke 100! Oh, the pain. I like that it's not a direct clone of Asteroids because Asteroids is pretty much perfect, and this is different because it makes no sense. Who in their right mind would devise a space laser firing weapons system like this? Because I'm dangerous and devious, like Xevious. Now, like a lot of other Odyssey 2 games, you can enter your name if you get a high score. But it still doesn't answer the question, who developed this ridiculous firing system? So let's check the beautiful instruction manual for any information related to that. Well, it doesn't seem to tell us very much about that, but it does look cool. Magnavox Odyssey 2 games are among the best looking games to collect if you're into box art and instruction manuals. They're always colorful and look like they just had a great time at the Buck Rogers Space Disco. This one also gives us a summary of the plot: protect Earth from a sinister invasion of mysterious unidentified flying objects. Why bother identifying them when you're just gonna blow them up anyway? Yes, I broke 100! My life is complete! Now let's go for 1,000,000! I've played this game a lot lately and enjoy it because you're trying to master a game that has broken controls. So instead of just aiming at enemies like you would in Berserk or Frenzy or Asteroids, you have to find other ways to stay alive, because the bad guys on screen that are surrounding you aren't really the problem. It's the fast-moving enemy UFO that flies onto screen and then shoots you. But it only shoots on angles, I think. So if you're right in front of it, you'll be safe. Also, if you let the screen fill up with enemies, it'll frequently run into them, or at least the enemies will create a barrier and protect your UFO. That's my pro tip from Classic Game Room. Did I just say Classy Game Room or Classic Game? Either one works. The show is, if anything, classy in a space disco kind of way. This is one of my favorite Magnavox Odyssey 2 games. I highly recommend it. UFO! Exclamation points. A must-play game. Don't forget to enter your name when you get a high score. No! 192. What should I sign this one?